What if all those Cartoon Network shows we grew up with suddenly got a Smash Bros treatment? Today, we're breaking down a 16-character roster, teasing some potential DLC picks, and designing a challenge mode that will bring out your inner child. Let's get started with the main roster reveal.
Courage!
As someone who's faced the most bizarre threats, Courage would be a great starter fighter. Being more of a defensive type, he's more of a counterattacker, avoiding big hits and punishing. So if you're a patient player who enjoys outsmarting your opponents, play Courage. For his moveset, he opens his mouth wide to absorb any incoming attacks before sending them right back. We'll have Courage spill a pot of macaroni and cheese on the stage, causing his opponents to explode. Courage's Shriek gives him a defense buff for a brief period. His final smash, the terrifying Nightmare, has Courage falling asleep as players are brought into his nightmares, where frightening foes from the show appear, overwhelming your opponents as they take heavy damage. For assist trophies, the Bash couple joins the fight, along with the evil Moon Spirit. For his alternates, let's have Courage the Criminal, Courage the Puppet, and Bath Time Courage. This next fighter has a lab full of surprises.
Dexter!
Before I move on, yes, Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion and Multiversus both exist, we get it, but also Cartoon Network won this poll, and I feel like I have a unique take. Anyway, the boy genius comes to battle with endless inventions. I can see him borrowing from Mega Man's use of projectiles and tools at his disposal, while also using traps and area control. Definitely a more big brain character, since his playstyle would reward strategic thinking and careful placement of his tech. Some signature moves for Dexter are his robotic arms, which he'll use for close range attacks and grabs. Dexter calls on his secret superhero monkey, who briefly wails on opponents. Let's have him pull out his Major Glory action figure for Star-Spangled Laser Vision. In his final smash, Dexter hops into his giant fighting robot as he becomes an unstoppable force in mecha form. He'll have a nice spread for skins, and for his victory screen, we'll have Dexter do this famous dance. As for extra characters, let's have Dee Dee come in with a similar final smash since she has her own fighting robot. His arch-nemesis Mandark joins the fight as well, and for one of his assists, he'll call in his Techno Turtle. Now, let's mix things up with this fighter who's as unpredictable as his world.
Gumball!
This reckless teen is using his outrageous antics to surprise opponents with every move. Using Wario as a template, he'll have a quirky moveset with some exaggerated animations. For my players looking for some funnier moves, definitely pick Gumball. Let's start with a portal gun that either he or enemies can walk through. Gumball pulls out the box, which he can throw in any direction as it explodes on impact. How about this computer chair up special, giving him an extra boost when coming back to stage. Gumball's final smash has him going beast mode. He grows into a mustache man before going wild on the battlefield as he tramples enemies. Let's include the rest of the family who'd play a lot like him as playable characters. And for assist trophies, we'll have some familiar faces like Banana Joe. Gumball has a lot of options for skins too. This next show could easily fill the rest of the roster with its iconic characters.
Robin!
Being the leader of the pack, I have to include Robin as the Teen Titans rep. He combines martial arts and his tech to rise to any challenge. I can see him playing like a combination of Sheik because of his agility, but also like Joker, who has an arsenal of tools. So if you like high-speed melee and gadget-based zoning, this is your guy. For Robin's moves, I can see him pulling out his staff for a forward smash as he extends it, then performing a flurry of strikes. He'll do a sweeping spin kick, hitting opponents on both sides. We'll also have Robin toss an explosive disc, which detonates shortly after release. His final smash, Gadget Blitz, has Robin unleashing a combination of his smoke bombs, explosives, and grappling hooks, targeting multiple opponents, then finishing off with a powerful staff combo. It only makes sense since he's the leader to have the Titans headquarters as a stage. We've also got to include the rest of the squad in this game as playable characters, and there's plenty of more cast members that I'd love to see in this platform fighting game. Even though Teen Titans Go is after my time, I can also see those versions of the cast in this game with a similar moveset, kind of like Link and Toon Link. It wouldn't be a Cartoon Network fighting game without this next trio.
Powerpuff Girls!
From sugar, spice, and everything nice, the Powerpuff Girls bring their teamwork and superpowered punches to the fight. Not gonna lie, I really like the way they fight all together in Multiversus, but I'd also like to see them shine individually, so let's have them alternate Pyramithra style. They'll have specials where all three join forces though. Blossom's Ice Breath slows down opponents as she blows a freezing gust of air. Bubbles' Frenzy has her going blazingly fast as she flies through opponents up to 3 times. Buttercup's Command Grab has her hurling opponents across stage. They'll join forces forces using their heat vision to slice through their enemies. As a final smash, in unison, the Powerpuff Girls perform their sonic scream. This ear-piercing move is strong enough to launch players in all directions. I can definitely see some villains in here as playable characters. For Sis, let's throw in the good guys. And for the victory theme, it's gonna be this upbeat tune for spreading joy. Going down the trio route, we're switching from strategic level gameplay to smooth brain combat. Players wouldn't know how to use these scheming misfits at first, but once you figure out their synergy, they'll be like god-tier fighters. We're gonna have them in the game as a tag team trio, with Eddie relying on unusual moves which include his scam attacks, probably fighting with lower power. Then there's Double D, whose moveset I'm borrowing from a certain game. Finally, Ed the Powerhouse, using his brute strength for attacks. To cover each character's signature move, we'll have Ed angrily hurling players, then Eddie puts his gelatin scam to good use, trapping enemies in it, and for Double D getting inspiration from Clash of the Idiots, we're using the Flying Buttress. As their final smash, we're bringing all the kids to the cul-de-sac where an all-out war breaks out for the beloved Jawbreaker. Nobody is safe from this fighting cloud. As assist trophies, why not bring in Rolfie Boy? And we'll need Johnny 2x4 swinging his plank around. Another trio I'd love to see is the Kanker Sisters. Coming up next, this fighter brings their cooking skills to battle.
Chowder!
This clueless apprentice chef is gonna have a bunch of food-related attacks. I can see Chowder playing like Kirby with his playful personality shining through, but a little on the heavier side like Bowser Jr. Playing off his insatiable appetite, we'll have Chowder open his mouth wide to devour projectiles or opponents as he heals. We'll have him throw these poisonous purple nurple projectiles, and when grabbing an opponent, Chowder can force them to consume a smoothie, causing them to brain freeze. As his final smash, Chowder eats a Tootin' fruit, which has him grow in size and eventually, well...
How do I say I love you, l'amour, l'amour, l'amour?
He'll have some showy taunts that you'll just have to see for yourself.
Pretty please.
What?
Chowder's stage has gotta be the wonky Marzipan City. We'll have his mentor and his besties as playable characters. And for assists, how about Truffles throwing around her rump as it does some crazy damage. This next fighter uses a scythe for combat.
Grill!
It's time to include some evil in here, and I can't think of a better rep than the Reaper himself. For my Ganondorf players, Grimm is gonna feel similar. He's gonna be heavy with slow but powerful sweeping movements. And of course he's gonna fight with his scythe, so we're gonna include that in his attacks. Let's get into the Reaper's signature moves. Grimm slams down his scythe as he summons ghosts, damaging opponents. Then there's his Soul Harvest up special as he launches himself up in a spiral motion, sucking in nearby enemies as he rises. We'll also give him the ability to teleport, keeping enemies on their toes. His final smash, Grimm's Final Judgment, has him call upon the forces of death itself. He raises his scythe and a huge explosion of dark energy hits all opponents on screen, setting them flying. The attack ends with Grimm laughing maniacally as his victim souls are collected. Grimm would have some amazing taunts, but this is the best one by far. Other playable characters to bring in are the troublemakers Billy and Mandy. A personal favorite assist trophy is the Scythe 2.0 swinging through enemies. Get ready to shapeshift with this next fighter.
Ben Tennyson!
This wise-ass kid hero wields the Omnitrix, which lets him transform into a variety of aliens, each with their own unique abilities. So similar to Schultz Minato Arts, let's have Ben's down special open a radial menu, where the selected alien is active for a short time with a brief cooldown after each transformation. We'll have 5 aliens for his moveset. Forearms, a powerhouse with high damage melee attacks and throws. Heat Blast for using fire projectiles and explosive attacks. XLR 8, get some speed with rapid combo-heavy moves and swift dodges. Slow down the fight with this defensive playstyle with Diamond Head, using hard-hitting crystalline attacks and armor-like durability. Then there's Cannonball, a rolling wrecking ball with strong mobility and knockback heavy moves. Ben's final smash has him activating Ultimate Alien Form, where Ben briefly combines powers from all 5 aliens, delivering a devastating attack to anyone in its range. For DLC, let's have Gwen use her spells and martial arts to spice things up, and as an assist, Grandpa Max can come in for support. Let's go to camp with this next scheming fighter.
Heather!
She's ready to stir up some serious drama. Heather's gonna have calculated moves blending agility with cleverness. Using ZSS as a template, she'll have quick, nimble attacks that focus on evasion and positioning rather than brute force. Her first signature attack has her charming opponents so that they hit themselves in confusion. Because of her backstabbing nature, we'll have her perform a sidekick back air. Let's give Heather a smoke bomb projectile that she throws to mask herself to escape. As a final smash, the Mean Girl elimination has the stage transform into an elimination ceremony, where Heather destroys every player in one dramatic send-off. For a losing animation, she'll get her hair chopped off. There's actually a lot of fighting that goes on in the show, so we'll have some other campers join her. We could even have Chef Hatchet join as an assist trophy. Coming up, we're reigning in the chaos with this disciplined warrior.
Samurai Jack!
As a sword fighter with swift and precise attacks, I can see Jack playing like Cloud. His playstyle focuses on speed and timing, so there should definitely be some Marth mix in there too. Starting with his down smash, this would be pretty much identical to Cloud, where Jack charges his katana before swinging it both ways. We'll have Jack release a flurry of strikes at his opponent in swift motions. For defense, he'll use a projectile counter for redirecting them at enemies. The samurai's final smash is the Holy Katana. In an unstoppable fury, Jack swings the blade ferociously but precise to rid the battle of evil. There's a bunch of amazing looks from the show, so we'll have to include some of them. For playable characters, we'll need to have this mother-daughter duo, with the rest of the daughters of Aku as assists. Speaking of Aku, he has a special place that I'll discuss later in the video, but for now, we'll bring back the Unserious with this duo.
Back in blue!
To start, we have a sweet, grounded Mac, and then there's this chaotic character. These two make a perfect storm. I feel like Mac Blue players would be one-tricks, not the best fundamentally, and the rest of the community would want to ban them from competitive play. For combat, we'll have the pair curl up into a ball as they roll through fighters. We'll have a paddleball jab that I can see people spamming. Finally, a leaping attack knocking down enemies, but you might make the mistake of landing off stage. For the pair's final smash, Sugar Craze, the two consume sugar and go on a wild rampage where they're pretty much invincible. We'll have them chaotically running around the stage. The Foster's home stage would be an instant classic as it scrolls between multiple rooms. We'll have this unfortunate ending as the pair's losing animation. For some DLC, we'll include some of the other imaginary friends. The Foster's assist trophies would go hard too. Our next fighter is gonna dominate with science and sweetness.
Princess Bubblegum!
Bringing in the ruler of the Candy Kingdom, I can see PB playing a lot like Rosalina, which I'll touch on in a bit. She'll have a focus on mid-range combat using candy-themed weapons. If you like playing a graceful fighter, you'll enjoy Princess Bubblegum. She'll even summon assists like Peppermint Butler to aid in attacks like Luma. Then there's a Bean Beam that she can charge like Samus's gun. Let's bring in her royal steed, Lady Rainicorn, for aerial recoveries. For her final smash, PB summons candy zombies as they overrun the battlefield, munching on opponents. Besides the fighters that already exist, how about the Ice King, or on the other end, the Flame Princess? I found a whole YouTube video compiling all her looks, which honestly would make for great skins. We're setting sail from sweet science to salty seas with the next fighter.
Flapjack!
Combining his whimsical charm and nautical-inspired attacks, Flapjack is a short and fast fighter. He's gonna have a low weight, making him easy to launch. Flapjack has some pretty unorthodox moves that's hilarious to see in action. His belch sends opponents backward with minimal damage. He'll perform this fever dream face, which makes opponents in its range become frightened and unable to move temporarily. Flapjack has to have this ability where he throws a stack of Flapjack projectiles in succession. His final smash is a fish out of water. In the cinematic, everyone gets a dose of this special drink at the candy barrel, as all enemies are turned into fish for a brief period, unable to attack. His partner in crime, Captain Knuckles, is going to be a playable character. He can take a butt whooping. We'd have a healthy mix of assists in the game too. Flapjack's losing animation? Well, here it is. Coming down to our final picks of the roster, we're bringing in this set of slackers.
Mordecai and Rigby!
The troublemaking duo is clocking in. It's about time I include a fighter that's for my smooth brain players who don't want to put in much effort learning technique but can still win some matches. We're gonna have a moveset which reminds me of Little Mac, simple and hard hitting. To start, we'll have the two perform a death block, which absorbs any incoming attack and heals them depending on how much damage they received. But this has a large idle window afterwards, so don't go around spamming this. For offense, let's have them do the Benson punch, where they charge up a massive punch launching them across stage. We'll have the duo bring out a boombox that blasts sound waves for pushing opponents away. Mordecai and Rigby unite for an epic guitar performance in this final smash. As they perform in sync, they're untouchable, blasting away opponents with the power of music. This synthesizer duel would be an amazing stage. I mean, the art style with the music blasting would be such a unique environment to fight in. For playable characters, let's bring in the All Reliables and some of these clowns for assist trophies.
Mom!
Our final fighter is the leader of the rebellion.
Nigel Luno!
The fearless Nigel of Sector V rounds out the roster. He's a high-tech fighter using 2x4 technology and strategic setups you'll have to rely on to get some wins. Starting off, number 1 fires a burst of starch, slightly slowing opponents and dealing light damage. Next, we're bringing in the birthday suits, acting as a force field and having a slight cooldown once it's broken. He then whips out the Spicer, acting like Snake's RPG. We're bringing Sector V together as they make their way to their battle stations for this final smash. Enemies are bombarded from all sorts of attacks that they just can't survive. It's a no-brainer to include the rest of the squad in here, with my favorite being number 3, and why not Sector Z as playable characters. For assists, we'll bring in number 1's girlfriend Lizzie Izzy. She plants her mind-controlled device, messing with players' controls for a few seconds. By the way, the legendary treehouse would make for a great battlefield for the sweatiest of players. And once you win, why not throw in this victory screen and ice cream party? That's the main roster, but there's still way more characters to reveal with these honorable mentions, so let's get into it. Steven Universe, a defensive fighter who I can see fighting like Captain America, using his shields for blocks, counters, and projectile attacks. One notable move is a bubble barrier where he generates a protective bubble that can burst to repel opponents. It always bothered me that he wasn't part of Multiversus, so let's bring in Scooby-Doo, a quirky, evasive fighter who uses cowardly maneuvers to dodge and distract opponents. His signature attack, Mystery Dash, has him scramble erratically, dealing light damage and tripping up enemies. From the class of 3000, Sunny plays like a rhythm-based fighter, creating musical energy blasts and melodies to attack. His jazz note barrage sends colorful bouncing notes across the stage, forcing enemies to dodge unpredictable rhythms. Throwing it back, we'll bring in Johnny Bravo. He's a brawler with exaggerated over-the-top moves based on his egotistical nature. His hair comb involves him dramatically combing his hair, giving him a damage buff. Next up is Rex Salazar, the versatile fighter who uses his nanite abilities to transform his arms into all sorts of weapons. For his final smash, thanks to Ben 10, he could get a suit upgrade for even more powerful attacks. Let's bring in this spider monkey, Laszlo, who uses his camping gear to attack, but I can't forget about the hot dogs for his health buff. Laszlo's concrete boat is a big FU to physics as it knocks over opponents. Coming in from Infinity Train, Tulip uses the train's magic and her friends to gain an edge. One key attack, Conductor Call, summons 1-1 to create hazards like falling blocks or temporary platforms. For a more fast-paced fight, let's have Mao Mao join the battle with a blend of swordplay and agility. His Grenadine Slice quickly dices up opponents in a straight line. Bringing in this underrated shell, let's have Zack Saturday join the battle. His claw, being his primary weapon, gives him a flexible moveset, including the ability to throw out a stun that immobilizes nearby enemies. Last but not least is Juniper Lee using her martial arts with mystical enchantments. Her touchstone attack creates a ranged energy projectile that explodes on impact, dealing area damage. Now that we've covered these memorable characters, things are about to get spicy with this challenge mode. Each boss battle getting even more intense. Can you make it to the end? Our first fight begins at Mojo Jojo's lair atop his observatory, where he bombards players with gadgets and lasers. After beating him in the first stage, he climbs into a massive mech suit, unleashing chaotic attacks while ranting about his genius. We're heading to Lakewood's Plaza Olympics for this next battle against TKO, as he combines wild melee combos and screen-filling energy blasts. Up next is a team battle with none other than Johnny Test and Dookie as you face Bling Bling Boy. First, you'll have to fight your way through Bling Bling Boy's lab before he's eviscerated. Then you'll face Bling Bling's gadgets as you try to escape. We're going to outer space aboard Vilgax's spaceship. Using his immense strength, this will be a tough battle. When his health bar reaches half, Vilgax becomes increasingly aggressive and summons his drones to assist in battle. We're going to the mystical RV for the next battle against Uncle Grandpa, who's gone mad. This fight is a fourth wall breaking experience since he uses absurd attacks like pizza slice minions while occasionally flipping the screen or altering gravity. Uncle Grandpa can take a beating, so he'll have multiple health bars too. The next stage has you teaming up with Craig of the Creek as he tries to eat the most sour candy. You'll both take on the Sour Candy Trials, a 3-stage mini-boss battle that only the most fearless can win. It's a battle between K&D and the delightful children from down the lane over this delicious birthday cake. This team versus team battle unfolds in their mansion. The difficulty of it all might haunt you too. Our second to last fight is set in a dark, eerie forest. Teaming up with the woodsman, you're facing the beast. Kind of reminding me of Kingdom Hearts, I'd imagine this being similar to fighting a heartless boss. As the fight progresses, the area becomes darker, making it harder to see as the beast's attacks grow stronger. No matter how hard you try to defeat him though, he vanishes without a trace. In our final 1v1 showdown, it's against one of the most iconic Cartoon Network villains, Aku. This duel takes place in a battleground of fire, with him constantly shifting between monstrous forms and using his shape-shifting powers to attack. In his final phase, Aku periodically shoots an insta-kill death beam. Victory here is the perfect ending to this challenge mode. And with that, we have our Cartoon Network platform fighter. Which character would you play as? And if you liked this video, here's even more just like it.